welcome. You're at World Chat. This is a show that seeks to introduce our community to some of our wonderful international neighbors. You know, 50 years ago, Haverhill was a town made up mainly of European, descendants of European immigrants, Greek, Italian, English, Canadian. And I think our skin colors showed that, and today we have such a multi-ethnic community, and we just want to introduce you to some people who are living around us. And when we get to know each other, we find that we are very much alike. We all have the same basic needs. We need food, we need shelter, freedom of speech, education, and we all have a need to be loved perfectly. We long for that, and we look for that, and we know that we only find that in God. Well, I have some incredible people with me here today. They're students at North Point Bible College. I have with me Marsha Jairaj and Anthony Vanaria. Marsha's from India, and Anthony has a very unusual story, and he was raised in Papua New Guinea. So we're excited to have them. We're going to be talking with them, and you're going to find out some really interesting things today. So Marsha, let's start with you. You came here how long ago?
3 years ago, so 2011.
And you came here for the purpose of?
Yeah, to go to Bible college. Yeah.
What brought you to this school, to this place?
Well, I hadn't heard about Zion. It was known as Zion back then. My dad actually talked to me about coming over here because he knew like people who had been here, and you know, my aunt and uncle have been on campus before. So you know, he said, you know, do you want to like go to America, and especially like to a Bible college? And so I was like, yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? So yeah, it took me actually a year to come over here because at first I wasn't sure if I really wanted to come. But yeah, so now I'm here. And
that's great. Yeah. You know, how old were you when you came? I'm asking your age, I know.
No, yeah, I was 23.
It's pretty big step to leave home and come halfway around the world to live.
Yeah, it is.
How was that first year?
Yeah, it was. I was pretty homesick. You know, because I didn't want to leave home, you know, leave my family and you know everything else. But yeah, I think freshman year for anyone in general is just hard. But sophomore year it was like fine. Like after a year, I think after a year it was like it was fine. And now I love it.
Did you go home in the summers?
I did. Like, I mean, you know, it's expensive, like, to fly back.
Sure.
But, well, unfortunately, like, freshman year, my grandpa passed away, so, yeah, so I had to go.
So sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about home, India, and your family.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm from New Delhi. I was born in New Delhi, but, so, like, 10 years, I grew up, like, in the capital. But then when I was like 13 and a half, like I moved down south and just for school. So yeah, so it was kind of like, so I grew up like in North India and then a little bit like in South India. And it's very different. Like people think India is just like the same, but no, it's like different. Like in Delhi, like you have Hindi, like people speak in Hindi.
Right.
And then in South India, it's like Tamil, but you have other languages as well. But
everyone speaks English?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Is that the common language for the whole country?
Yeah, it is. And for me, growing up, like I spoke English my entire life because, you know, my dad's a South Indian. He's from Tamil Nadu, and my mom is a North Indian. So I speak English.
They had to use English.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like people ask me like, oh, do you speak Tamil or Hindi fluently? I'm like, I speak English.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, yeah, but I can manage, you know. So.
Well, let me pull Anthony into this. Anthony, tell me about what you did this last summer.
Well, this last summer, I got an opportunity to do an internship with Project Rescue, and I got to spend like 6 weeks in India.
Where, what part of India?
I spent actually spent 8 weeks there. I spent 6 weeks in Kolkata, and I spent 2 weeks in Landore, Missouri. It's actually pretty far away from where Marcia was. It's such a big place. You really
Sure.
it's a whole nother thing. I remember before I went, the guy I was interning under sent me a message, and he told me that it would probably be the most what was the word he used? He said it would be the most varied experience of my life, I think he said. And he wasn't lying. I mean, it really was an amazing diversity there. And you'd think, India, you'd want to wrap it up into one bundle, but
Right.
not at all. No, it was really
Right.
neat.
Right. Most of us don't know much more about India than going to an Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
Now, let me talk about food. What do you think about it? Are our Indian restaurants at all a good representative of Indian food?
Yeah, there are some, like two places in particular. Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. But yeah, freshman year, as I said, like it was hard, like eating the food over here. But
Every day in the
yeah,
calf.
I probably missed like Indian food a lot. Like yeah, that was like the main thing, apart from family, like food. Because
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Food does pull us
Food,
together.
yeah,
I mean,
it does,
Those are
yeah.
our memories.
Yeah.
Those are.
Yeah.
We're so wrapped up in food. What about you with the food there?
In India? Well, my thing is, I can't I mean, if it's gonna hurt me, I don't like it. And I feel like spicy food is one of those things. I'm
hurts
scared
you.
of spicy food. I really am. And I heard that the food in India was gonna be really spicy, and I've never had Indian food. And I thought about getting some Indian food here before I went, but I decided just to wing it. And I loved the food in India. I was the only person interning on the trip who didn't get sick, and it wasn't too spicy at all. It was great.
Oh, people got sick,
Yeah,
huh?
a couple of people did. I don't know if
I think it's the spice. Like they
I don't know if
came
it was
up
the
with
spice
the
or something, yeah, but it was so good. The Indian food was, mwah.
Oh, good, good. So you just really fell into that culture.
I actually really did like it.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Right. So, what's been your favorite thing here? Have you found a food here that you like?
I like Spanish food because
Spanish?
it's close to like Indian food, like
The
'cause-
spices.
Yeah, I guess so. Like they have like a lot of flavor. It's not spicy as Indian food, but like I just like their flavor, and it's like they have rice and beans, so it's kind of like similar. So for me, like that's kind of like closest to home. So I would go for Spanish food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah.
What kind of, I know that when we've traveled, there are some things that strike you that surprise you about a culture, either surprise you good, surprise you bad. When you came here, what kind of things were like, wow, I didn't know they did that. I didn't know it was like, what were the surprises that you found when you came here?
Nothing really like, I wasn't culture shock, like, as they say, like culture shock, but because I came here actually in 2001 when I was like 13. So that's when it was like, okay, culture shock, everything. But I kind of like knew like, a little bit
Because
about
you've
it.
been here.
Yeah, so it wasn't like, oh, that's, different, whatever. But one thing I love about like being in New England, being in America is like, I just love the weather.
Oh, well, you've had hot weather.
Yeah, and fall is one of my favorite seasons.
Isn't it
It
beautiful
is
this year?
beautiful. I just love the colors and everything. It's
Have you
just,
sent a lot of pictures home?
Yeah, freshman year I went crazy taking a lot of pictures, but now it's like,
I know, every
yeah,
year.
but I love it. I still love it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then obviously snow. It was my first. Yeah, freshman year was my first time like experiencing snow and everything. So yeah, I
Did
liked
that
it.
get old?
No, I mean I like it.
I mean,
for
it
like a
kinda got
day.
long
Yeah,
last year.
Yeah, it was, but I mean it's pretty, but like.
You like the weather,
Yeah.
isn't that
Yeah,
interesting?
I love the weather.
Well, what about you when you went to India?
For the culture?
Oh, the weather.
Oh, the weather? Man, so I grew up on an island in Asia Pacific, right on the equator. We're pretty used to the heat. I grew up in the mountains though, so I'm used to warm and humid environment. But man, Kolkata was on a whole nother level. I had no idea. I mean, it got to like 115, 120, I think, and the humidity was insane. I mean, I had to dress appropriately because of the work we were doing there, and by that I meant I couldn't wear shorts or t-shirts. And man, I didn't know my knees sweat like that. I know it sounds gross to say,
Knees.
but yeah, it was weird. But yeah, it was really hot. I didn't mind it though.
Yeah, I remember like when I flew back to India for my grandpa's funeral, Delhi, because I mean, yeah, I'm from India. Like, you know, I can manage the heat. But being in America for like 8 months and then going back,
You get
I could
climatized here.
and I could really tell him like, I don't even know how I manage all these like 23 years, you know. So it was hard. It was really hard. Like it just like I missed it. Like it was like different. I was like, I need AC right now.
Wow.
So yeah, so that kind of like, yeah, kind of like that was
So-
different. Yeah.
Do you see yourself staying in America? Or you think you're going home?
Well, it's funny because everyone asks me that question.
I'm sure.
Everyone, they're like, do you want to stay here? Do you want to go? I'm totally fine going back home to India because, you know, it's home. But I don't know, like if there's an opportunity for me to stay, to be really honest with you, like I would stay here. But other than that, like I'm totally fine going home. Yeah, my sister's here and she loves America.
Oh,
and-
she stayed.
Yeah, she stayed. Well, you know, she got married over the summer.
Oh,
And yeah, so
yes.
she married an American guy, so she
So
loves it.
you have some connections here.
Yeah, yeah. So she.
Well,
loves-
tell
yeah.
me your purpose. Now that you've been at North Point,
Mm-hmm.
have you felt a God purpose for your life? And do you have a
Yeah.
knowing of your direction?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like for me, if the Lord tells me to go back, I will definitely go back. Like, I'm not gonna be like in it. Oh, I want to stay or whatever. Like I'll just go back and like work in my church. But yeah, like I don't really like have like a specific calling. Like right, I'm still like praying and seeking the Lord for that. But yeah, so I'll probably go
just
back.
one
yeah.
step at a
Yeah,
time.
one step at a time.
And
Exactly.
you know, that's the way
Yeah.
life is.
Yeah.
You know, you go, sometimes people know exactly the
Yeah,
direction they're going, and sometimes we just have to go one day at a time.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and you will know.
Yeah, I won't.
The Bible says the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord, so there are steps, and you take them, you'll see the next step, and you'll know.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony, let's talk about you. Your background is pretty unusual. We said in the beginning you're from Papua New Guinea, but then we talked about India, so you've got some variation there. But tell us your story,
Wow.
a bit of your story.
Okay. Well, I guess a good place to start would be at the beginning. And my parents decided to become missionaries, Bible translators. And so they went to Papua New Guinea because they signed on with Wycliffe. Wycliffe sent them to Papua New Guinea. And,
Wycliffe Bible Translators,
Wycliffe Bible
that
Translators.
group.
Yep. And my parents initially began working with a tribe called the Koban. And they were actually assistants in translation. And once they did well enough there, they decided to move on to their own project. And they moved to work with the Messam people, which is a language group about 2 days from the nearest city, the only city actually in the province. And it's a 2-day walk in, and that was just the village they decided to take residence in.
Wow.
The language group extends 9 days into the jungle though, just walking. And that's for people who
The
can really walk.
language group.
Yeah, that's for them. So
So
yeah.
they chose a remote
Uh-huh.
ministry life.
They did, and they actually had a problem at the start because my mom was hit by a car when she was 18, and doctors told her she wouldn't be able to have kids. And so the Messe thought my mom was had done something to the spirits, and so they thought she was barren for that reason. And so when she got pregnant with me, it was a big deal, and they thought she was like a person, someone they could interact with. So yeah, it was a.
So that opened them up to be open to her.
Actually, it quite literally opened up the doors to my parents. My dad, after I was born, would take me around the huts and put me in front of the doors. I kid you not, I'm saying this on television. He would kick me into the room. I'm not even joking. And he would wait until he heard the people in there laughing, and then he would follow me in. Because the Messam, they really like children. Like a lot of cultures, Eastern cultures, they really prize children. And so he would use me to literally open the doors.
So he pushed you in, and
would
if
send
you were
me in first.
accepted, he was going to be okay.
He said they were always happy to see him after that, yeah.
That is hilarious, but that's a creative access
It is,
there.
yeah.
Oh, how fun. So your mom came back to the States. You're an American citizen, right?
Yeah, I'm an American citizen. So my mom didn't want to, for various reasons, she wanted to have me in the States.
Sure.
I was born in America, and they went back over in Papua New Guinea. But I always tell people it's not where you're born, it's where you're made that counts. And I was conceived in the jungle, I know.
That's a great line, isn't it? That's fun. Now, you grew up there.
Yeah, I
You
did.
learned to talk there?
Yep. I speak a little bit of Mese, which is the language group that my parents worked in. I speak the trade language Tokpisin fluently. But similar to India, actually, Papua New Guinea is really linguistically diverse. For its size, I think it's geographically the most linguistically diverse area on the planet.
Really?
There's over 800 languages on the island.
Wow.
And
Cool.
those
It's
aren't
full of information
Yeah.
for us. That's
well,
amazing.
I'm listening to my dad,
well,
itinerant
of
all the time.
course, of course. That's great,
But
though.
yeah. So I can speak 2 of them.
So you speak 2 of their languages?
Yeah, I speak Tokpisin, and to be honest, I can get by in Mese, but I don't speak it that fluently. Yeah.
That is amazing. So, what kind of living conditions did your parents have all the time you were growing up there?
Actually,
You were in remote villages,
yeah,
right?
we were.
Okay.
So we didn't have running water or electricity. We had a tank that collected water, and we had to pump it by hand into the house. And we did have power from solar panels, but those were just for the computers, for my dad to do the typing and stuff. And occasionally, we had lights that we would use sometimes. But actually, our house in the village, compared to most village houses, was really nice because a missionary couple went into work with the Mese before my parents did, and they built the house, and as soon as they were done, they got sick. So they didn't get to do any of the work.
Wow.
So my parents, that was actually a serious blessing for them. They just showed up, started learning the language.
Isn't that amazing?
And,
Yeah.
How God goes
Yeah.
before you and makes a way and
Yeah.
prepares, and they move into a house already
Yeah, I mean,
prepared
and
for them.
that was great. Yeah, it really was.
Wow. And one time I heard you tell a story about playing with boys, and you went somewhere in the
Yeah, I remember
in the
that.
jungles, and you weren't supposed to. They ran
Oh.
away, and I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh,
you remember
well,
that
I
story?
remember that.
I mean, I did a lot of things that got me in trouble. I tell people all the time I wasn't really a missionary kid. I was just one of the kids. So I did all the
That's
things
right.
I wasn't supposed to do. But I did one time go hunting with my friends, and we were going to a friend of mine. His name is Newman, and his family, I guess his dad dabbled in black magic or something, so there was a portion of the land that they were afraid of, and I didn't know that. And so we were going near there, and we used to use slingshots to hunt birds all the time. And I saw a bird fly into this stick of bamboo, and I took a shot at it, and I turned around, and everybody was gone. And I was with 5 kids, and I mean, this is the bush. They really took off, and I'm looking around like, where'd everybody go? And I ran down the mountain. Like 5 minutes later, I found them. And they were in a pile, and they were all just really tired. And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "You can't shoot at that bamboo." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "That belongs to the spirits of my family." So yeah, they do live in fear. It's not like Disney. It's not like Pocahontas.
Yeah, right.
No, yeah.
Right. So, what were some of the cultural stigmas or things that you had to know to follow these people or to work with these people?
Well, I mean, to be honest, saying
I mean, you didn't work
right,
with them, your
yeah,
parents.
working
I'm
with
talking
them,
your parents, but you
yeah,
lived
yeah.
with
So
them.
that was actually interesting for me. Like my overseas experience is America, coming over here. So that's interesting with the culture. But for my parents, I think one of I think it was hardest for my mother because women don't have the same respect there as men do
Sure.
here. And so men could come into our house at any given time. They could interrupt my mom when she was talking to my dad. And so there was like a privacy issue for my parents. But I think that's also a big thing in Western cultures versus Eastern cultures. For Eastern cultures, they're more we-orientated, group-orientated. Eastern cultures, group-orientated. Western cultures are more individualistic.
Yes.
And so I
Yeah.
think that was a learning curve for my parents, something they had to adapt to. Yeah.
To the group mentality.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of the East, a lot of people, the Middle East, so forth, it's very much everyone
Family.
is together.
Yeah.
Families
Yep.
do everything together, and large groups of
Yeah.
families, not just mother, father,
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
but aunts, uncles, cousins, and everyone spends a lot of time together. And I think that's reflected even in the churches, that the churches spend more time, people together, than they do here. People come here, go to church 1 hour a week. What do you find at home?
Well, like in respect to churches, like yeah, our churches are like our services are like really long, and that's one thing. Like preaching can go for like an hour, hour and a half, but over here it's like on time. It's like a time frame, which is I for me personally I was fine with it because I'm so used. Like sometimes the preaching can get a little bit too long and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But like over here it's like it's on time. So I for me
You like
personally
that?
I like it. I really like it, and yes.
And what about the situation of families, large families
Oh, yeah.
together. Did
Yeah.
you miss that?
I did. Like
Yes.
I'm really close to my family. Like we have a big family. Like my dad has like 4 siblings, and they're all in the ministry. Everyone's a pastor, and like so that, and then I've like we're like 12. We are like 14 cousins, so it's like a big family. It's not that big in India, like in Indian thing, but like there's more like 30 or 40. But like for us, it's like a big deal. So yeah, I miss that.
Yeah,
I really
Anthony,
miss.
you being an only child and being in that kind of situation, did you have struggles coming back here and going to school here? And
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble actually when I went to. First of all, I look very American. Like I speak English without an accent. I'm white, to be blunt. And so
okay.
when I first came to America, I actually played basketball. So I was always with, primarily actually with, honestly, most of my teammates were ethnic. And so when I didn't understand something culturally, there was more grace in that sense. But when I went to North Point and I was around, I looked more like an American with Americans. I think sometimes that was one of the hardest things is people not understanding that I didn't understand. But I think once people understood, there was a lot of grace given. And so when it came to the family and the group setting, particularly how I relate to people, like my friend's friend is my friend. And so, if I had a conversation with someone for like 20 minutes one time, I'd see them the next time and I try to talk to them again and they'd be like, bro, like, I don't know you. Like, why are you talking to me like this? It takes more time to develop the relationships here, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that was something I had to learn, which
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a bad thing, though.
no, but there are just such little cultural nuances that when you move from one culture to another. What about India? When you went there, what did you find
I actually
with relationships?
Right. In relationships, the physical touch actually was a surprise for me. I mean, in Papua New Guinea, boys, they're more physical touch than people are in America typically, but there's a lot of, it's mostly the shoulders. And in India, it was sort of free reign. Like, guys would hold hands a little bit more. Like, it was different for me, and I had to adjust to that. But actually, the question you asked her when you're talking about the church, that was one thing I really noticed culturally with the church is, it was really more like a body of believers because they spent more time together even outside of church. And so I thought that was actually really neat. I really thought that was really cool. That was
Wow, that's great. Have either one of you had any funny stories that have happened to you since you've been here or even back home, the differences? Not one to think of the funny stories.
Yeah.
Actually, when it comes to the cultural miscommunications, I had a big one when I first came to North Point because, like I said, I was playing at a school, I was playing basketball, and I came to North Point, I pick up with the guys, and when I first came, I'd play and people would be like, wow, man, you're really good, and they would give me a compliment, and I'd ignore them. I wouldn't even look at them. Because in Papua New Guinea, the lowest form of humility is to not even acknowledge the compliment. So when someone gives you a compliment, you don't even look at them, you keep your head down, and they're like, everyone will be like, man, that's a really humble guy. Whereas if you look at someone and say, thank you, yeah, thanks for noticing, you come across really arrogant. And so I remember my mom calling me, like second week of school, hey, Anthony, how's it going, making friends up there? And I was like, well, it's a little slow, but if nothing else, everyone knows I'm really humble, Mom. I'm trying to be really humble, especially when I play basketball. I didn't say it quite like that, but it was so funny because later I found out everyone thought I was really cocky because I wouldn't accept a compliment. They were like, man, I gave you compliments and you just walked by me. And in my head, I thought I was being humble, so it was actually really funny.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. We had a student went to a Middle Eastern country this summer, and she was teaching English. She was teaching them, I like to eat, and they told her. And then she said, I like to eat tacos. And the students laughed and laughed, and she said it again. I like to eat tacos. Oh, they just laughed and laughed. And finally, someone told her that in their language, tacos meant your backside.
Oh my goodness.
So there are, you can just get
my
caught
God,
up in
that's
things.
funny.
You use your English and you think everyone
Yeah.
understands, and we don't always convey the message we want to convey. Well, this has been a great day, guys. Both of you.
Thank
Do either
you.
one of you have anything you want to share before we quit today? Oh, no? All right. Well, listen, I always end our show with saying adios, sayonara.
Poito vare alvida.
All right.
Arunga.
Arunga. All we know is it's goodbye, and we just look forward to seeing you again next time.